Our next set of triangle attacks is going to come from the side. Side control is probably the most dominant top position, and as a result, it's a great position to attack with the triangle from. The key is dominating the near arm. If you can control the near arm, it's going to be your easiest attempt. It's going to be your easiest set of attempts at the side control triangle because it's really going to require the least amount of movement on your part. When I'm on Steph's side, the basic key that I'm looking for here is I like to bring my left knee inside of his armpit here, inside of his elbow. So if Steph's got his elbow in, I'm going to lift up, bring my knee inside, slide it to the ground, and now I want to replace my knee and bring it as high underneath his head as possible. I'm going to start coming up, and now the key here is I'm looking to control Steph's arm in the crease of my hip between my side, the inside of my arm, my hip, and my armpit. So we're here. Now I'm going to bring my right knee into Steph's hip, because from here what we're typically going to look to do is improve our position. If our opponent doesn't want to do anything, if he doesn't want to give us anything at all, we're just going to mount him. But in most cases, people are going to respect the mount, and they're going to worry about you advancing your position to a place where you can either A, score 4 points in a jiu-jitsu tournament, or B, start to strike a little bit more efficiently from in a mixed martial arts and self-defense situation. So if we're here, I slide my right knee up. Here I'm now going to immediately place my knee on Seth's belly. It's not going to be heavy. It's not a heavy sort of position like a normal knee on belly is. However, in most cases, if you just start to slide your knee across, you're going to get this reaction. As soon as you do, I'm now going to check Seth's hand, and I'm going to use third point pressure. I'm going to lean my body weight into him, controlling his wrist, and I'm going to step over into the triangle and finish. Start kicking you. So again, for regular side control here, I'm going to slide my left knee in this case, because I'm on my opponent's right side. It'll be my right knee if I were on his left side. Here I slide all the way up, I pinch tight, and I apply shoulder pressure. If I'm just trying to chill out, that's fine. But if I want to get mean with it, I'm going to start to roll my shoulder into Seth's jaw. So now, when I do bring my knee up, he's not even going to be able to look. He's not even going to be able to see what's going on here. So the second he puts his hand down, I check it, I step over, and then lock the triangle. And we finish. The big cues on this one are going to be that we're using the knee on belly attack, the slide to mount, to set up our finish for the triangle. If you don't get the reaction you want, it's not that big a deal. Here's what's going to happen. We lock in our position. If Seth doesn't want to move, that's fine. Now we're just going to work for our arm lock from the mount and finish here. So basically, he's kind of in a real bummer of a situation, because he's triangled if he does defend, and he's mounted if he doesn't. And as a result, this is going to be an excellent position to attack from. All right, guys, here's another opportunity from the side. Basically, what we're doing here is we're forcing the omoplata position. We're forcing the finished position of the omoplata sweep, where our opponent's arm is trapped between the legs from side control, and we've either A, just swept, B, flared off from a mount, or C, we just force a position on our own. So, okay, if Seth's on his back and I'm on his side, I can be, applying side control pressure in a variety of ways. But here, all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to slide my right knee inside. So we're here, we're typically pulling up, we're controlling the position. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to slide my right knee inside, and now I'm going to pick up Seth's wrist, and I'm going to control his elbow. What's going on now is I'm figure four in my feet, and I'm trying to control Seth's elbow as much as possible, because I don't want to be here. It's not necessarily wrong per se, but notice how I don't have his elbow trapped. Seth has a lot more mobility. He can attempt to turn into me. He can give me all kinds of trouble. I don't want any part of that. So if we come back, I'm going to lift his elbow, and I'm going to drop it. So now Seth's elbow is supported on my left thigh. This hand's great because I can now try to wrist lock. I can do any number of different things here. But right now, I'm going to control his arm here, and I'm going to step my right leg over top of Seth's head. You'll notice you can conceivably be here as well underneath the head, but with the underhook, you're going to have much greater success, because if things go wrong, you just bail back out to side control. So all I'm going to do now is right now I'm controlling, making sure that I've got Seth's elbow, because I need to make sure that I have this arm right here, because if I don't, I'm going to lose the triangle. So if I'm triangling Seth's right arm, I'm going to lift my hips up, slide across for the triangle. Again, I'm on side. I take Seth's arm, I slide my knee through, I catch the elbow, I slide the right leg, my near inside leg, on top of Seth's armpit or his shoulder. I pick up the elbow and I replace with my outside leg. You can try these kind of cheese ball arm locks. You're not going to be finishing many people like this at all, because even though I can hyperextend Seth's arm, I'm never going to be able to break it here, so he's not going to tap to that. I can try to, but it's an excellent distraction tactic because it's going to be able to keep him busy, keep him concerned about anything other than what I'm about to do. So here, if I do come back and control Seth's elbow, and now what I want to do is I want to make myself light. I'm not trying to be heavy here. I'm going to drop and I'm going to slide the right side of my thigh and the right side of my hip across Seth's chest and lock in the triangle. And by virtue of the position, I'm already perpendicular. So let's go into a couple different ways that we're actually going to be able to get to this position outside of just forcing it. Same position. Imagine say we started from the guard, from a bottom position. You start out here, and I hit an omoplata sweep one step, and he rolls through. Or here, I can either sweep here, if we come back for a second. Yep. We go back to the omoplata, Seth rolls through, and I sit out. And I catch the position. Same position, same triangle. Alternatively, imagine I'd attempted a mounted triangle and I had to bail out. I missed it. So we drop down. The arm is still between my feet. No reason to give it up. I just suck that elbow back in, lock it up here, and I glue myself to Seth's upper body. So here, and now same scenario. I slide my right leg all the way across my inside leg. Finish the triangle. And that's going to be the slide across triangle from side control. All right, everybody, our next triangle setups are going to come from the inverted guard or the upside down guard. This is a position that you don't really see played too often, but I really feel that it's underrated, and the guys who play it well really have a lot of success in competition. The people who really came up with this position and popularized it were Roberto Holeta and Pejapano from Gracie Baja, who was Holeta's student. And even though Holeta used it largely as a sweeping position rather than a finishing position, Pejapano used it a lot for triangles, arm locks, and omoplatas. And he was doing it mostly with the gi. However, I've had a lot of success with it in no-gi tournaments as well. And if your timing is proper and your grips are proper, you're going to have a lot of success as well. The basic concept of the inverted guard is that you're going to be very, very exceedingly difficult to pass because your hips are far from your opponent. A normal guard, we're here, the second that you get past my legs, you've passed my guard. Or you've at least forced me to turtle out. However, with the inverted guard, because your hips are floating up in the air as opposed to stationary on the ground, located on the ground, there's no friction on your hips. You can be all over the place. It's a very, very difficult position to gauge. And as a result, your triangle opportunities and other submission opportunities are going to be pretty numerous. So let's get started. Our first triangle here, all I'm going to control here, my basic grip from this position is I'm going to be checking my opponent's knee, and I'm going to be controlling his wrist here. My foot's going to be on the bicep, and my other knee and my other shin is going to be in between my opponent and me. I need to be constantly aware of leg locks. Even though they're very difficult to jump into, the most prominent one is going to be the knee bar. Because we're definitely concerned about knee bars and different leg locks, we need to be careful, and we need to be popping our opponent's grips off. No gi is not that much different from the gi. Someone grabs you, rip their hand off you. You don't need them grabbing you. So basically right here, all we're going to be doing is we're going to have one control leg and one live leg. That live leg is what's going to make everything work here. Before we get into some more advanced setups, our basic ones are going to be grip based. So over here, we're checking the knee. This is my live leg right here. I can push, check. But all I'm going to do now is I'm going to coil my body and I'm going to kick my live leg. If we rotate real quick, let's rotate here. I'm going to kick my live leg straight through my opponent's armpit. So if on the far side, if my right leg is my live leg, as it is in this case, it's going to kick directly between the space between Seth's right arm and his body. So here, I kick through, and now I'm going to rotate. But it's important. I don't have the gi. I don't have the good fortune of being able to pull down on his sleeve, pull down his collar. So I have to make sure I'm using my legs to properly break his posture. This is good, but in the transition here, people go. So what we need to make sure we're doing is, as we spin, the back of our knee is everything. The back of your leg is what's going to corral the back of his head and control this posture. This is going to be huge for no-gi in many, many, many of your triangles. So we're here. I'm pushing, I kick through. And I'm using the back of my left knee to break Seth's posture. I'm going to catch, control, spin, and finish. This one's great because if anyone ever tries to pressure into you outside of your upside down guard, they're not going to pass you. In fact, they're probably going to be submitted in pretty short order. Pressure is not the way to defeat the upside down guard. But basically, it's going to be, for this particular setup, it's really a timing-based setup, and flexibility is not that important. It definitely helps, it's nice, but it's not super important. The biggest thing for flexibility in the inverted guard is going to be guard recovery and guard retention. But basically here, all we're going to be doing is we're going to be checking our opponent, using our foot, our live leg. Another American who's excellent with doing this was Nick Diaz from Cesar Gracie's, and he would always check, and push people away, giving them a lot of trouble. So again, I'm controlling here. This is my live leg. I'll push Seth, I'll push him, and snap him right into the inverted triangle. One last time. If I'm pushing him and he starts to pressure into me, that's my time. Because as I let him go, he comes down. Immediately my hands go to the back of his head. I rotate, lock my triangle, and finish. And this is going to be your basic setup from the inverted guard. No-gi. Alright guys, our next setup for the inverted guard is going to be a little bit more advanced. Not advanced because it's impossibly difficult from a technical perspective, but advanced because it's going to take a little bit of flexibility and your timing is just going to have to be better. The bonuses of this one are definitely going to outweigh the drawbacks, because the big thing here is that because there's a very, very minimal amount of body contact between you and your opponent because you're coiling your legs, he's not going to be able to tell exactly where you're at. If he can't tell where you're at, he can't tell how close he has to be or how far he has to be to triangle you, or for you to triangle him rather. So people are going to hang out, they're going to think they're all right, they think, oh man, I'm too far for this guy to get me, and bam, they're in it. So all we're going to be doing here is there's going to be no body contact whatsoever outside of our hands. There's going to be no contact with your feet. And remember, your feet are a lot longer than your hands, but the only thing that they're feeling is your arms. They can see your arms, they can see the reach of your arms. They feel like they feel that that's, for whatever reason, a lot of times they feel safe because they're at arm's reach, they're at arm's length, and they're far enough, and they see you stretching a little bit. However, because your legs are obviously much longer than your arms, you're still going to have them within range. So, when I attempt to triangle Seth, all I'm going to do is I'm going to check, same grip here, controlling, just chilling. My feet are going to be back. There's no contact whatsoever. He can be back, he can be sitting back, he can be doing whatever he wants. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to coil, I'm bringing my legs to me, and I'm going to snap. My feet are going to crisscross. My right foot, in this case, because I'm gripping underneath Seth's arm, I'm gripping Seth's right arm with my left hand, my right foot is going to fire straight through. It's got to be a shot. Really, your knees are going to be hitting the guy pretty hard. So when we're here, my foot is going to take a straight shot underneath his armpit, and I'm going to rotate 180 degrees to face him. But we're here, back and forth. I might push him a little bit, but I'm never going to extend my legs all the way. I don't want to let him know where he's at. Also, that's another good point right there. If I extend my legs all the way, I risk knee bars and different things like that. Even though it's extremely difficult to leg lock someone from upside down guard because their hips are pretty fluid, it's definitely a danger. In a position like that can definitely arise. So we're here, my legs are just chilling, we're back and forth, and then boom, snap straight up at him. Again, we're here, back and forth, chilling, and you snap straight into the triangle. One more time at regular speed, if we angle this way. Okay, so we're here, we're chilling. I might scoot myself away, get yourself a little bit of an angle. Boom, back. And they're in the triangle before they know it. So to be honest, this one's not quite as technique-based, but once you get your basic grip-based inverted triangle down, you can fire into this one much, much more quickly, and you're probably going to be catching the better guys out of this one. All right, our next triangle setup is going to be a pretty unique one that's going to come off the omoplata. You can enter the omoplata from just about any position, obviously, top, bottom. There's a lot of guys who are just excellent with the omoplata, and they can catch it from just about anywhere. Although the most common positions are going to be, the guard, your spider guard, closed guard, half guard, and all the variations thereof. But basically, for this one, we're going to have a couple different interesting triangle setups, as well as a couple small points in the omoplata that we think are going to make a big difference for your game. In this particular case, we're going to catch the omoplata from the closed guard. So however we get there, we catch the omoplata. As it's very, very common that your opponent's going to start trying to posture up. So from here, it's giving me some trouble. I'm going to take my outside foot, crisscross my top. I'm going to crisscross my inside foot over top of my outside. And it seems like I should be pushing here, but if I push, Steph's going to do what? Just get up and take his arm right out. So I don't want to push anywhere. What I want to be doing is I'm going to come here, I'm going to base my feet on his head, and I'm going to rotate my knees towards the ground. This is going to break Steph's posture. Immediately, I'm going to pulse my hands, scoot away, and now, let's rotate for a second. And now I'm going to switch my hands. My left hand, which is typically across the hip, is going to be replaced by my right, and I'm going to post out, and now I'm going to scoot my hips away from my opponent, which is going to drag Steph to his side. From here, immediately I've got plenty of different options. It seems like I can try to go for the arm. I mean, I could potentially get a wrist lock here, but right now, for this particular case, I'm going to step my left foot to replace my right hand. My left hand directly underneath Steph's armpit. So I'm going to step here, and I'm going to catch, crucifix grip on the opposite arm. Now from here, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull Steph toward me and catch the triangle. In this particular case, you'll obviously notice there's really no choke here, but this is a great position to finish. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling on the arm, and Steph's going to tap. But in most cases, you know, a tough opponent's not going to tap. When you're drilling, you might. But what are you going to have happen? What can Steph do to correct for this? Is he can come up into me, and all I'm going to do is adjust for the triangle. So let's go through that one more time. Again, remember, when we go for this omoplata, we're going to lock on our feet, we're going to lock it on, and I'm going to switch, and I'm going to place my outside foot against the neck, and I'm going to reinforce it with my inside foot over top. And now we're going to bend the knees and knock our opponent down to the shoulder. Because remember, pushing on the neck would do nothing. It's just going to actually push him away from us, which isn't what we want. Remember, you're always trying to take your opponent, when you have the omoplata, to the direction that he or she has no base, and that's going to be directly to the near shoulder. So, when we catch the omoplata, Steph's posturing up, outside in, boom, crunch down. Immediately now I switch and I scoot away to drop Steph to his hip. From here, this arm is just going to kind of get crunched up and out of the way. And now all I'm doing is I'm stepping my left foot over, catching, crucifix grip, and I'm going to pull Steph towards me. This arm is still stuck behind his back, so he's really not going to be able to protect himself in the triangle. I pull him towards me, crisscross my feet, lock my figure four. From here, we're just going to be controlling going for the arm. And the second that Steph comes up to compensate, watch as you switch to figure four, lock it, and adjust to finish the choke. An alternative finish from here is going to come from the exact same position. So if we're back in the omoplata, same scenario. Opponent's posturing. I can't keep him down. Foot, switch, plant, switch, scoot away. Only now, when I attempt to break Steph down, he's going to fight against me. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to let him, and I'm going to drive straight over him and into the triangle. One more time. Same scenario. Control your opponent's hip. I'm trying for the omoplata. I can't break him down. Switch, switch, punch. I start to try to scoot away. I'm fighting. Seth, fight me back. I'm going to push with my right leg directly perpendicular to Seth. Boom. And I corral with my right knee, the top of my thigh, and we finish the triangle. Alternatively, we could stay on top, as you've seen demonstrated before, but in this particular case, we just came to the back to finish. And those are going to be two omoplata triangle variations that are going to be pretty unique, and I think are going to help you guys out a lot. All right, guys. Our next set of triangles is going to be flying attacks. One of the biggest keys on this one that I really can't emphasize enough is that timing is the key, but also it's important to know when to do this. Not just the timing of the physical attack itself and jumping at it, but it's important to know when you can do it in regards to when your opponent's posture is broken. I can speak from personal experience from having jumped up at a flying triangle when I was practicing one time and getting caught and slammed straight on the back of my head. And I think I lost a few IQ points, but gained a valuable lesson, and that was, do not attempt to jump a flying triangle when your opponent could potentially do a squat. The time to jump flying triangle is when the guy's bent over, as if he was shooting a single leg, or if he's just got poor posture in general and you're able to break him down. You do not want to jump at your opponent when he can catch you and you're going to have you're going to be up above his shoulders, because bad things can happen. And obviously from an MMA perspective, bad things will happen. So make sure that when we're going for these, the key is breaking the posture and timing your flying triangle so that you land softly, so that your opponent is carrying your weight whether he wants to or not. All right. Basic ways we're going to set this up. There's going to be plenty of different ways. The better your wrestling is, the better your hand fighting your wrestling is, the more likely you are to land this sort of thing. So when we're here, when we're wrestling with an opponent, if you can, you hand fight, snap them. The key here is all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop them down, and then as soon as Steph starts coming back up, I'm going to immediately hop over. However, common problem with the flying triangle is people jump straight at it and they fall flat on their back. Why? The big thing here is if I jump over Steph's arm with this leg that's coming over his head, that's not my weight-bearing leg. That's not the one that's going to support me. The leg that's going to support me is my off leg, my right one in this case, that's going to cut underneath Steph's arm because it's going to go across his back. It's not, the other one is going to come up and lock on after the fact, but in the beginning, it's important to jump sideways so that right when we're here, I don't hop over, I hop under, because we're checking this leg here and we're hopping our right leg underneath. So unless I'm light as a feather, make sure that when you are doing this, you're hopping with your low leg, the chopping underneath the arm leg first. So we're here, we're hand fighting back and forth. I'm going to snap Seth. I'm going to hop here, because this is all I need. This is the leg that's holding me up. This one is going to snap over top. If I lose this leg, I fall flat on my back. And Seth is going to pass or do other things, and I may or may not be dead. So make sure that when we're here, for all of our flying triangle setups, we're hopping. If I'm jumping flying triangle on Seth's right arm, my right leg is the one that's going to be bearing the weight. So we're here, we're hand fighting. Our basic flying triangles, I'm going to check Seth's left. I'm checking Seth's right arm. I'm chopping my right leg underneath his left, and I'm going to hop. And this is all I'm really looking for. I don't need to lock up here right from the get-go. I'm just trying to lock around the shoulders, because the second we hit the ground, we're going to adjust. So a basic flying triangle is going to look like this. We're controlling posture, we're snapping, moving. You can fake your arm drags, you can tap. We're going to push the right, we're going to push the opponent's arm in and hop straight over it. So one more time. Let me finish the flying triangle. Alright guys, our next flying triangle is going to require a little bit of wrestling ability. So the first thing we're going to be doing here is we're going to be tying up with our opponent. However you like to snap your opponent down, you can, but the basic idea here is I'm almost going to snap him to a single leg, although not a single leg with good posture. The same way that we stepped out of our opponent's guard before when he sat up around our leg and we hopped around it, we're going to be using here, only we're going to flying triangle our opponent. So we're here. If I snap Seth down to a front headlock and then snap him again, what's he typically going to do? He's going to get on my leg. The second he does, I rotate out and I hop in for the flying triangle. We're not attempting the flying triangle from a position as if we were here on a good single leg. He's just going to let you go and you're going to fall on your head. If I'm down here, this is a great time to flying triangle me. So, again, you can set this up any way you like, and conceptually, anytime your opponent's in poor posture from that single leg, feel free to try to jump into it. Although it's a risk, you have to understand that this is a calculated risk because you're attempting to hop into this flying triangle, but it's at the risk of sacrificing 2 points. So make sure you're at a time when your opponent's not going to be able to posture out, will be able to consciously make the decision just to let you go. Because you want it to be a situation where you're in dominant position so that even if he knows what's up, even if he understands what you're about to do to him, he's going to have a very difficult time stopping you. So again, we're here, we're wrestling, boom. Do my front headlock, I snap Seth down, hop, straight into the flying triangle. Alternatively, if we catch this front headlock and we get a guillotine, I can just hop straight over Seth's arm here. So this one, if we're here, I can catch this guillotine and hop straight over the arm. And notice how we're clasping hands here. When I get this guillotine, it's not a normal guillotine where I'm really trying to finish it. But I also don't want to have a situation where I'm getting ducked under here, because that's not going to get me anything but suplex on the back of my head. So what we want to do here is, if you do catch this snap down, feel free to come around and go for this guillotine. The second your opponent checks in on it, we catch his grip here. And now I'm going to hop straight over, right into the flying triangle. The more your opponent's going to be able to carry you, the better it'll be. This is more of a grappling tournament-based move because in certain situations, your opponent's going to catch you. Right now, because I don't want to plant Seth on his face and he's being kind enough to not drop me on the back of my head, we're going to go nice and easy, and we're going to kind of let him catch me. But the basic concept here is you don't need your opponent to catch you. You're going to impact a little bit, but you don't want to be in a situation where you're jumping up and he's catching you for real. This is just for demonstration purposes. So one more time here, boom, snap him down, guillotine. He attempts to catch. I catch his hand, hop straight over it, and finish the flying triangle. And that's going to be your basic flying triangle setup off of the single leg and off of the guillotine choke, the arm in guillotine choke. Alright, this is going to be a triangle defense to a very popular no-gi pass that you see at a higher level competition. In this particular case, Seth's going to underhook my left arm, and he's going to hop to his left. His goal here, if he continues the pass, is to step over, force my ankles open, down half guard, and pass my guard. If my goal is to triangle someone, that is directly not helpful to me at all. So, because I'd rather not have him pass my guard if I can avoid it, I'm going to decide to triangle him instead. So in this case, when Seth goes and underhooks and hops, I'm going to figure four my legs. Or at the very least, I'm going to keep him close, pinched tight to his hip. What I really want here is I want Seth's elbow to come back towards my feet. The second it does, I'm going to check it with my hand. He doesn't feel a lot of danger here from the triangle, but that's only because he doesn't know he's about to be triangled like this. I'm going to hook my foot inside his elbow, and I'm going to curl my toes back towards me, because if my foot's down, Seth's elbow pops right back off. I'm going to hook, and I'm going to pull back. This leg, my right leg here, is going to jump over, and I'm going to control with my left hand. Now, I'm really not too concerned with what goes on. We lock the triangle, adjust accordingly. If Seth stays here at this odd angle, we'll finish, but most people are going to come back to their knee. We control our opponent's posture, lock the triangle, attain a perpendicular angle. So, from this angle here, Seth's going to underhook to protect me from going his back. He's going to hop to his side. Now, as soon as he reaches back, I take my left foot. I'm checking with my right hand, and I'm taking my left foot and shooting it in between to the crook of his elbow. Now, I'm going to pull back here, and at this point, it really doesn't. As soon as you get this hook in here, for the most part, it doesn't matter if he knows what's up or not. It's over. You jump your foot over, curl, lock the triangle. From here, we're going to control posture, adjust further, perpendicular angle, and finish. The keys on this one are that I make sure that I have to stop. I cannot allow my opponent to uncross my feet early. If he does, he's going to give me some trouble. So I don't need to body lock him and just hold on for dear life, but I do need to make him work a little bit. If you go to the body lock, in most cases you're not going to get the reaction you need, because people are not going to attempt, a good opponent is not going to attempt to uncross your feet if they're body locked. There's no point, and he's actually more likely to pop his ribs than open your guard. So what we want to do here is make sure that you bait him a little bit, give him a little feeling that he can get out, but not enough that he's going to be successful. Second, reaches back there, check that arm, hook the foot, extend backwards, kick through, and that's all she wrote. And this is going to be the triangle defense to the hop to the side, no-gi pass. Alright guys, our next triangle setup is going to come from the closed guard, and it's going to be off a rubber guard setup. In this particular case, I'm going to be unable to get my opponent's hands to the ground. As a general rule, your ability in the closed guard, whether or not it's fighting, mixed martial arts, grappling, jiu-jitsu, is going to be directly proportional to your ability to break your opponent's posture and oftentimes to get his hands on the ground. Because you need to keep your opponent's hands. If you can get your opponent's hands on the ground, you can start to work your triangles, omoplatas. You can get inside control very easily. Of course, this all starts with breaking posture, but in the event that you're not going to be able to get your opponent's hands to the ground, this is going to be an excellent option. The key here is it looks very difficult. We're actually going to end up with a two-arm triangle that's going to land us with an arm lock, a number of other finishes as well, but the key on this one is that it narrows your opponent's chest profile. I'd like to get into a brief explanation of this before we do this, because if you notice, a normal adult's chest profile is going to be way too large to fit into the space between your knees for a triangle. However, if you can make your opponent crisscross their arms and narrow their chest, in many cases you are going to be able to lock this triangle and finish with either the choke or the arm lock. From here, I'm I would typically start by attempting to break my opponent's posture and come down here. However, in this case, I'm not going to be fortunate enough to do that. If Seth has both of his hands on my chest, this might be all I can get. I reach up and I control. Now, if I can come inside, things are going great. What we're typically looking to do now is I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to shoot through as if I'm going for a Bravo choke. I'm now going to grab the inside. I'm going to grab palm facing in on top of my ankle, and now this hand here is going to come over top as well. Why? In the beginning, a lot of times when you get this grip, because it's uncomfortable for your opponent, many times you're going to immediately start to explode up, posture, and I might lose the grip because in the beginning, before you get comfortable with the grip, it feels a little bit unstable. So we're going to control here with both our hands. As soon as it takes a little bit of the juice out of them, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to pummel inside and float my opponent's arm over my shoulder. I'd like to have my right arm outside of my opponent's left in this case because it means that I can force his arm in. If I'm stuck in here, Seth's shoulders are still pretty wide. It's going to be very difficult. He's going to be able to defend. Now, it looks like we might be able to shoot a triangle here, but sadly, in most cases, we're going to lose this because Seth's going to be able to duck his head out towards his left and give us some trouble. We might get the omoplata, but a lot of times it's going to be difficult. So what we're going to go for instead is going to be the double arm triangle. So we come up, we lock our palm and grip, we get our second grip, and we control. From here, we've actually got a no-gi cross choke, which is not good. I want to put that out there right now. But at the same time, it's definitely going to be a distraction tool that's going to bring this arm closer to you. As soon as it does, I can start to use the back of my thigh to bring this in and lock the two-arm triangle. From here, I'm either going to put this fist inside of Seth's neck and finish the choke, or alternatively, just finish the arm lock right here. Again, I break my opponent's posture. Immediately come up, grab my ankle, reach through. From here, I'm going to use the back of my knee, and in the event that I can't, I'm going to pummel inside, float my opponent's arm, and now I'm going to start scooting out toward my hip, towards my left hip, as if I'm going to arm lock this arm. As soon as I do, I lock the two-arm triangle. You can notice the look on Seth's face is not very comfortable. And now here, fist in the neck, you can finish. You can finish here with the arm lock, or you step over to the regular arm lock and finish as well. And this is going to be the two-arm triangle setup off the rubber guard Bravo grip. This is going to be from the top of half guard. And this is going to be one of my personal favorites because it's pretty sneaky and it's going to work well against a lot of high-level half guard players. So basically, what's going to happen here is I'm going to allow myself to get floated, or ideally, we're not going to allow yourself to get floated at all. But your opponent's going to attempt to put you up from half guard. You're going to beat their underhook with yours, and that's going to set up your triangle. So if I'm on my opponent's half guard, and Seth comes underneath and puts me up, I immediately collect my base and I underhook. It doesn't really matter to me whether or not he's under my leg or not. I'm not too concerned. What's important is that I don't allow this to happen, because now I'm in a little bit of trouble. I need to start working and I need to start stepping around to avoid the sweep. However, if I beat this underhook, I can really start to work for the triangle. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring my my left knee in this case, as far underneath Seth's head as I possibly can, and I'm going to start to come parallel towards him. Because if I'm perpendicular, right now I'm parallel, but I'm up on my knees, I can potentially dump my butt, I can be put over there. What I need to do is I want to be sitting on the ground parallel to Seth right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my knee here, and I'm going to start to come underneath him. It's very important that I maintain this underhook as much as I possibly can, and I'm going to be leaning out here. If Seth tries to come up in this direction, if Seth comes up here, I'm not really in danger of the sweep. So if we come back, I'm underneath, and I'm keeping his head off the mat as well. With my left thigh, it's going to keep his head off the mat, and it's going to make it difficult for him to move. Now, I'm sinking my weight out. I'm going to bring my leg here, and I'm going to kick his knee out and bring and lock the triangle right away. From here, we can start to finish the reverse triangle from the back. There's nothing wrong with it, but to be honest, it's not nearly as high percentage as this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag Seth to the side and finish the reverse triangle here. I'm working inside on half guard, Seth puts me up for the sweep, I immediately beat the underhook. From here, if I can walk this arm all the way out, I will. But in certain cases, it's going to be difficult. Sometimes it'll happen, sometimes it won't. But all that's most important is to stay under. My right arm needs to stay underneath Seth. So now I immediately drop underneath and start sinking out here. If Seth tries to uncross his feet, or if he's loose, I'd step my foot right out. But in most cases, people are going to have a little bit of recognition. They're going to know what's up. get my foot out here. Once this foot comes out, Seth's in a lot of trouble. It's going to be very dangerous for him to attempt to bring me to his right, because if he does, I start kicking and he walks himself right into the triangle. As soon as I get put up in half guard, I let my beat the underhook right here, come underneath. Foot comes out, lean, kick, triangle. Even though Seth's arm is underneath, I'm not that concerned. Why? Because if I have to, I can bring my foot here and rotate to the arm lock, or I can continue rotating all the way around to the regular triangle here. Anytime you're in a reverse triangle sort of situation, when you're in the mount here, I'm kind of given, I really have two directions. I can go left or I can go right. If I go left, I'm going towards the reverse triangle. If I go to the right, I'm going towards the arm lock, and then I'm going to follow with the triangle. So if I want the arm lock, what I'm going to start with, I'm going to bring my foot across, take my foot out, and catch inside of Seth's armpit here. This is going to make it difficult for him to spin out. Now immediately I post my left hand on the ground, scoot parallel, scoot perpendicular, and I crisscross an X on my opponent's far hand. So if you lift the hand up so they can see Seth, you're X'd on this hand here. Why? Because now I'm going to be able to, if Seth gets a grip, break the grip here and finish. But alternatively, all it takes is a small rotation of my right foot. I reach up and grab the far hand, and we're locked into the regular triangle. So one last time at regular speed. Seth, underhooks. Come on, beat the underhook. Kick out. Finish the triangle. Alternatively, scoop. X. Arm lock. Rotate the foot. Lock the triangle. So, if there's no opponent here, here's what it looks like. I'm in half guard. I get floated. I jump up and collect my base. I beat the underhook. I'm going to slide to my hip and lean. I'm trying to scoot and scoot and scoot to my butt, so I'm going to be able to easily get my foot out. As soon as I do, I use my outside foot to kick my other leg, to kick the opponent's top leg, freeing my other foot, and I immediately lock the triangle. Why? As soon as I can, I always want to lock the triangle. It gives me the most room for error. If I start trying to scoot all the way around to the regular triangle before I lock, there's just too much space for my opponent to get out. So I want to make my opponent, a lot of times he's going to determine what I do. Because as soon as you lock that reverse triangle, he knows he's in trouble, he knows his arm is in trouble, and as a result, a lot of times he's going to move and he's going to dump you into a triangle position by default. He's going to put you wherever you want to be, and you're just going to be able to finish from wherever you're at. However, if your opponent stays put, he just hangs tight, we can start sinking back to the regular reverse triangle, or alternatively, like we did before, we're going to control the arm, scoot to the arm lock, and then come all the way around 180 degrees for the regular triangle. And that's going to be your basic triangle attack from the top of half guard when your opponent attempts to sweep. Alright everybody, our next triangle is going to come out of the defense of the knee bar. In many cases, if you're a guard player, whether or not you're playing top or bottom, people are going to try to step on your legs and immediately come around in the knee bar to finish their heel hooks, toe holds, and straight ankle locks. As a result, we're often going to find ourselves coming up to defend in a figure forward position, protecting our feet. Imagine my opponent is attempting to hyperextend my right knee. I need to lock it in behind my left foot and protect. From here, we're offered a unique opportunity because a lot of times our opponent's going to be committing his hands one arm in and one arm out from the bottom when he attempts the knee bars. As soon as he does that, and we successfully defend, a lot of times you're going to have the opportunity for the triangle. So, if I find myself in a knee bar with Seth, I know that my right leg is in danger. So immediately, before it gets hyperextended, or if it is, I need to kick his grip off, and I'm going to figure four. I'm going to bring my right ankle into the crook of my left knee and come up on top. As soon as I'm able to free, if we rotate, okay, actually let's start that off. If I find myself in a knee bar here, I'm in a lot of trouble, obviously. Ideally, I'd like to stop things before they get to this point because Seth is checking my other leg, and I'm going to be in a lot of trouble here. But in the event that I have to, it kind of goes beyond the scope of our course right now, but I can control the arm, control the leg, and try to kick my leg free. So from here, I immediately figure four and attempt to come on top. Why? Because if I just hang out here, Seth's just going to go to another leg lock in progression and forget about it. I'm about to be submitted. So here, the second I can, I come up on top. Right now, if I were to step this leg over, Seth will be one arm out and one arm in. So, as soon as I can, right now I'm figure forward, I'm going to sprawl my hips in, take my leg out, and I'm going to step my left leg over top of Seth's arm. So now that I've cleared both of Seth's legs here, I'm going to step my other leg over his arm, and hop into the triangle. In some cases, this particular triangle attack is going to work out when your opponent attempts to come up on top of you. In other cases, you're going to end up coming up on top out of the leg lock and kind of hopping into a flying triangle yourself. But ideally, once again, this is sort of worst case scenario. To be honest, vast majority of the time we're here, Steph's going to finish this. So we'd like to stop things before they get here. But in the event that you can't, I don't want to just try to stick my foot out there because Steph's going to check it. The second he does, I grab his hand, kick his grip off, figure 4, come on top. From here, I can overhook the arm here, or I can just kind of be hanging out. But the important thing is I drop my right hip into Seth, boom, clear my foot. Now, as soon as I do, I have 2 options right here. I can either A, step my right knee behind Seth's legs, or B, I can just hop over. But I don't want to hang out here because Seth could easily re-roll, and I'm back in another leg lock. So the second that I can, I'd like to be stepping that right foot right out of danger. So, check, kick, come up, hip down. Immediately, my right knee and my right foot are going to come out from in between Seth's legs. So for here, they come out, and I need to step behind Seth's bottom leg. Now, my left foot's going to step up. I'm going to control Seth's hand, and now my right knee is going to snap up in the space between Seth's body and his arm, and we're going to go straight to the triangle. One last time. We'd always like to get on top out of the knee bar because I'm going to need this. I'm going to need gravity on my side and weight on my side in order to reliably break open Seth's feet. So we're here. I kick, bend my leg, come up on top, hip down. Right knee goes immediately behind my opponent, controlling here, step your foot, and you drop in. Once again, the common theme here that you'll notice is the corralling motion with my right knee here underneath the arm. It could allow me to potentially step for the arm lock or continue to roll through the triangle. And that's going to be the triangle defense to a knee bar. Alright guys, our next triangle is going to come from the top of the X guard. This is obviously not an ideal position. This is not the sort of place you'd like to hang out because the fact of the matter is there are guys who are so good with their X guard that you get yourself put up there, you got a very, very high percentage chance of being swept. It's very, very unlike most of the guard positions where sometimes you can serve. It's very, very difficult. So what we want to do here is escape the position as quickly as possible. But if you recall the half guard triangle from the top, there are many similarities here. So there are going to be a couple different ways that people are going to play their X guard, but in the event that the opponent attempts to put you up with the X guard towards the near side, you're going to be able to have a very, very good shot at triangling. I was able to catch this particular triangle at Grapples West, and if you check out the BJJ experiment blog, you'll be able to get a look at the video there. The second that Seth puts me up in the X guard, I know I'm in trouble. Doesn't really matter how we ended the position, things can be going pretty bad here. So immediately, the concept stays the same because the X guard, I guess you could consider it a variation of the half guard. So what I'm going to do is immediately beat the underhook right here. I need to get my elbow to the ground, and I'm going to start to try to kick out. There's 2 separate ways that I'm going to be able to do this. I'm either going to hop over, or I'm going to allow a sweep. Ideally, I'd like to hop over because that, in most cases, against a better opponent, it's going to allow me to scramble and stay on top. If I fail on the triangle, and that's going to save me 2 points, it could cost me the match. However, in some cases, you're going to get swept, and it's just kind of a bummer. And if you fail and you miss the triangle, them's the breaks. But the fact of the matter is, it's still an excellent option here. So we'll go with the first option where we step over, and then our second option is going to be when our opponent attempts to sweep us, and we just kind of give them that false sense of security before trying to choke them until they're purple. So we're here. As soon as I can, I'm going to force forward. I'm going to crawl my hand forward. I'm going to kick out. Now from here, I'm going to take my right leg over, and I'm going to high leg it out before stepping back through and locking the triangle. So again, let's rotate a little bit. I get put up in the X guard. I'm standing. As soon as I can, I get this knee to the ground. I need to get this knee on the ground because if I'm up here, I'm going to get swept. If I'm standing, if my opponent forces me to stay standing, I'm not going to be able to get sufficient control over his arms. He's able to use his legs to keep me at length, and my arms just aren't long enough to be able to control the scenario. So what I need to do is I'm going to put my knee down closest to my opponent's head, and I'm going to put the majority of my weight there. If I step down, I underhook. I'm going to crawl my hand out, boom, high leg out, step up, and step through. Once again, the crook of my knee is corralling and catching the crook of my opponent's shoulder, and we're going to catch the switch figure 4, and as soon as our opponent comes up, we're adjusting to the triangle. Alternatively, we're able to catch this with an overhook, which I was able to do against a brown belt in the no-gi division at Grappler's Quest in October. And this is going to be a simple step, a hop. Many times your opponent's going to attempt to sweep you, but a variation of the X-guard involves both feet, both shins being in here. This is another excellent option for him. He's going to have a number of sweeps he can hit me with. But ideally, even though I like the underhook here, sometimes I'm going to start to slide back and catch the overhook. And the second I do, I'm going to catch, step over, switch, switch to the triangle. Our final option here is going to be the false sweep. The false sweep, I think, is really the least of the 3 options. Not that it doesn't work nearly as well, just that if I mess it up or something goes wrong, or if he properly defends it, I end up getting scored on, as opposed to in the other situations where I'm still on top and I might be able to scramble back to my feet. So, in this particular case, let's go back this way for a second. I hop up, I get the underhook. As soon as Steph starts to extend me, I'm going to let him go. And I'm going to kick straight through into the triangle. The downside of this is against an opponent, the better an opponent's X-guard, the less likely he is to make this mistake, because he's going to be coming up with his knee inside, making it difficult for you to do. He's also going to be kind of gluing himself to you. If an opponent just kind of sweeps you and comes up, man, this is gold. But if they glue themselves to you, like if you watch the way Marcelo Garcia, sweeps people from the X-guard, the way he puts them down and he is attached to their hips and attached to their leg, to be honest, the odds of you hitting this particular triangle, off the false sweep are very, very low. But one more time, just in case, if you found an opponent who's really just trying to bully you over with the X-guard, this is an excellent option. So one more time here, I get put up. Immediately, my weight comes to my knee, underhook. We also have kimuras and different things here, so you're going to have your opponent have to respect that as well, which is nice. So we're here, I lean forward, I'll let him sweep me a little bit. I kick hard, catch my ankle, underhook, and finish the triangle. These are going to be your basic 3 X-guard triangle setups, and they all work extremely well, although I tend to focus on the first 2 because they're not going to get you scored on in the event that things go wrong. But again, the big keys to this one are beating that underhook as quickly as you possibly can and getting all your weight down on that base knee. Because if you're standing, or if your opponent is able to put you up with your far knee down, you're going to have a very, very difficult time defending.